way we began was, in my recollection, at a board meeting of the Guilford Foundation, where my good friend Joe Goldberg had invited an individual from Branford to speak about an educational foundation that he had created and really achieved enormous success with. So shortly thereafter he had made his presentation. Joe said, "I'd like to do this in the town of Guilford. Is there anybody here that would like to join me?" And like a good student, I raised my hand and said, "I'm in." And then Joe, what happened thereafter?
What happened thereafter? Well, we took off from there. I was very fortunate that I knew Leslie Krumholtz. Actually, I knew her kids before I knew Leslie. And I had reached out to her even a little bit before that, wondering whether she wanted to do something together if we were able to start this movement towards an educational foundation in Guilford. And Leslie very pleasantly agreed. So after we brought it to the board at the Guilford Foundation, we sort of became the Three Musketeers.
We did.
The Three Amigos.
Amigos.
The Guilford Fund for Education is an all-volunteer organization. Through its grants program, it funds initiatives that fall outside the Guilford Public School budget. The Guilford Fund for Education partners with the school district along with community groups to foster excellence in instruction, a lifelong passion for learning, and promotes and supports learning initiatives that help lead to the successful integration of youth into adult society, and strives to build a community-wide support and enthusiasm for education. Today, the Guilford Fund for Education has grown in members, as well as grants awarded, which now averages at $35,000 a year.
Hi, I'm John Terenzi. I've had the privilege of receiving two very significant GFFE grants. The first was at the end of the inception year of GFFE for the Harkness Table and its pedagogy. And the second one, which is more recent, had to do with the International Baccalaureate program. For a teacher to be able to find a resource like the GFFE was monumental to me. It was a place where I could go, and I had this idea about education, to make education for me better, make learning for my students, I think, easier and more relevant.
We had about 46 girls from several towns come to the conference in 2015. They described their experience in very positive terms. I have some of that here. They said, "After the conference, I feel confident and happy, strong, proud, more confident, good about myself, empowered and invincible, confident, happy, want to help other girls understand their power." And one girl said, "I feel extraordinarily powerful."
The grant that I was able to secure for the students here at Guilford High School was the Literature, Law, and Freedom GFFE grant. And the grant was designed to give students in social studies and English classes an interdisciplinary approach toward and look at the idea of freedom. We invited Stephanie Cuddick Weiner, an English professor at Wesleyan University, to come, along with her husband, Mark S. Weiner, who is a constitutional law professor at Rutgers University, to discuss the idea of freedom with the students in mostly junior and senior classes here at the high school.
The beauty of the GFFE grants is that they're like mustard seeds. They seem to be very small, but they encourage creativity and vision throughout our community. I remember the Board of Education meeting that I attended where Dee Jacob presented an enormous check on behalf of her company towards the Guilford Fund for Education. And then it was followed by the recipients of that first year. And you could not help but be in awe of what seems like a very small amount of money and the impact it's had in the community. It really allows our teachers to fulfill their dreams for their students, and it allows our students to be able to learn how to apply for a grant and to be rewarded for their own vision.
I would encourage everyone to look into the grant program at the GFFE. There are great opportunities. The GFFE exists to help you realize some dream you might have that you would really love to provide as an educator, be you an educator in the public schools or the nonprofit in town. If you have an idea that you'd like to see realized that maybe you need some more money for, the GFFE is here to really help you do that. Sometimes it's a little bit more work. but most often it's very worth it to put the extra time in. And the educators who we've worked with are always people who go above and beyond. And again, we like to support those kinds of initiatives.
It didn't come to mind right away that the GFFE would be the natural source for funding for our organization, but as we started to think about it, the Guilford Fund for Education really supports anyone in this community who is interested in learning and improving this town of Guilford. So we looked to the GFFE to give us funding, and the process was relatively easy. We put together an application, and then we came in front of the grants committee. We had a chance to present our idea and answer questions, and it really was a fantastic process. From start to end, it probably took 6 to 8 weeks for us to get from our idea to actually approval and funding. And so we're so grateful to the Guilford Fund for Education for providing us with this opportunity, and I encourage anyone to go ahead and apply for a grant.